Hello, everyone. Let's begin by reviewing the Introduction to Art 501. This is a lecture to begin the process of understanding the difference between art and the difference between design. Where did art begin? Who makes art? Who needs art? What does art offer us? And what value does art have? I like to always start with the Lascaux, France cave paintings. These were created 30,000 years ago. Humans have always needed art, and through art, we have learned so much of the cultures and people of yesterday. Art has always been a visual way for people to express an idea. So, as hunter-gatherers of 30,000 years ago, these paintings are really a depiction of what was most important to us. It gave a reflection of what we needed to survive, right? So this hunter-gatherer culture, you can see that these people are coming together and they are hunting prey for protein to survive. And many of these cave paintings also have depictions of hands. They've taken raw pigments like ochre and iron and put it in their mouth and mixed it with their saliva and pressed their hands up against these cave walls, spitting around them this pigment to give an impression, right? So art is a reflection of ourselves. Art is a reflection of our history, our needs, our fears, and so on and so forth. So the need and the search for art. Artists have the ability to influence the viewer, which can be subtle and involuntary. Some of this art is hard to read or to understand. Understanding art has become easier through time and with printing, books, and technology. So this is a painting by Mondrian. It's called Composition C from 1920. So take a minute to look at this piece. Looking away for a minute, I would like you to come back and I want you to decide for yourself what you see first. For those of you who see the big blue square first, that is unusual. For those of you who see the red shapes first, that would be more common as warm tones pull forward, cool tones recede. So there is no mistake here that Mondrian intentionally created a composition using primary colors only of red, blue, and yellow, and the neutrals of black and white. So let's get into what is design. Design is a universal meaning for a plan or an organization in making art. We use a set of guidelines in art that are referred to as the elements of art and the principles of art. These are the building blocks. So the elements are the tools in which we make art. There's 7 of them. And the principles are the ways in which we organize the elements to get our meaning to come across. So I like to show a lot of examples in this lecture. So this is a painting called Mountain Torrent by an Austrian artist from 1918 by the name of Egon Schiele. He was a tortured person. He was the student of Klimt, which I will talk more about later in the semester. But Egon Schiele was really, really sad because his wife and his infant child died, I believe, of diphtheria, because they were pretty impoverished. So in this piece, and you can see the angst and the way that he creates the line quality, the gesture and the movement and the way that he creates his work, and you can see it in all of the work that he makes. But using him as an example, artists and designers alike use the elements and principles when planning or arranging images to explain an idea. These guidelines are not rules, which makes art creative, but understanding and using this set concepts helps an artist have a successful outcome. So when we look at this piece called Mountain Torrent, we notice that there is movement, right? We see a mountain stream, either our perspective is from about here, looking down as the water is moving away from us, or we are standing in the river and the water is coming towards us, right? So what is the ingredients for art? Concepts and form. So, I mean, not concepts, excuse me, content. Content implies the subject matter, story or information that the artwork seeks to communicate to the viewer. Content is what the artist wants to say, right? Like, what is your intention? What is the message you're trying to give to your audience? And then how does that concept then take shape, right? So form is the purely visual aspect of and the use of manipulation of the elements and the principles to achieve your goal, which is your message that you want to get across to your viewer. So abstract, adornment, and decorative arts are purely aesthetics and are only concerned with subject matter and the choice of style or form. So for instance, when we talk about abstract art, many abstract artists are using those abstractions to convey a feeling or a sense of kind of a time. Adornment and decorative arts are arts that are like tapestries, upholstery, crafts, like functional pottery. Adornment arts and decorative arts can be things like tattoos, wallpaper, um, wrapping paper, things of those nature. Finding meaning in art without words, the power of the pictorial image. So now I'm going to show you some images and some ideas of work, right? So communicating with images. So these two images that we're looking at here are really commonplace. We see these things on a daily basis. We don't think much about them, but they are about communicating. They are about engaging with our environment and keeping us kind of informed of how we exist. So let's first start with the image on the left, which is the circle. When we look at this image in your mind, because we're not meeting in person, what does this mean? It means to throw away trash, right? So even though when we look at this image, this is supposed to imply a human body, even though this is a circle and these are abstracted geometric shapes, and this isn't actually garbage, but it implies in well design the intention that is universal to understand that this is where you should be throwing away your garbage. Looking over to the right in the triangle, we know that this is a sign that indicates that there is the potential of loose rocks or boulders. And the red triangle gives us the indication using the letter red, the color red, to imply danger. Instinctually, red has always implied passion and danger. And in this design, it is well served and creates a universal communication without words. So looking at this artist's work, this is an artist by the name of Andy Goldsworthy. I would like you to take a minute to guess what the name of this title is, just in your own mind. Well, if you picked balanced rock, you would have been correct, or balance, right? Because this rock has been balanced on top of another. Andy Goldsworthy is famous for creating earthworks. He uses his own hands and then the materials around him. He lives in Scotland, and the work itself is pretty ephemeral, meaning that it does not last. So things like this will not, this will teeter here. The documentation is the artwork in itself. He uses a lot of things of like driftwood or ice, and I recommend that you look him up to get a better sense of his work. It's quite beautiful. When done well, the visual and the intellectual become one. With good ideas, great design is possible. Ideas are needed for both form and content. So let's talk about the creative process. We're going to talk about thinking, looking, and doing. So design is a process, so we need to understand it, right? So in a scientific matter of processes, thinking of design, we need to have an understanding of what we need to do. We need to observe what needs to happen. We need to have a point of view, right? Where do we stand in this? Our ideas, we can create sketches or prototypes, and then we make the work. And then the process is evaluated over again. So let's talk about getting started when it comes to design. Begin by knowing what the problem or question is. Two, figure out what needs to be achieved. Three, what are the physical limitations imposed? Four, when is the solution needed? And last, is there a concept or message that needs to be evident in my solution? So let's talk about inspiration. So looking or observation is a primary tool artist uses. Influenced by the world around us, things like nature, human artifacts, and commonplace objects are useful sources for information. So let's keep that in mind. Nature, human artifacts, and commonplace objects. So looking at artists, this is an artist by the name of Kathy Kollwitz. She was a draftsman printmaker from Germany who lived in Germany during World War I. And her depictions were of women and children and the elderly in the impact of what World War I did to her community. Her work is the gesture of her lines, the exaggeration of the large hands and the hollowed out eyes, showing a sense of malnutrition and sorrow and loss. Her work is profoundly emotional. Commonplace artifacts or mundane objects. Andy Goldsworthy, an American artist who originally began in advertising, working for magazines and newspapers. He wanted to take commonplace objects and to put them at in repetition, giving them like a star status. And you can see here with this Campbell soup can, which is a commonplace object of little value outside of its function, being replicated and putting in a position of high stature from 1962. Jeff Koons, very similar to Andy Goldsworthy. This is his balloon dogs. He has many of these, and anybody who has an opportunity to go to museums here in Los Angeles, you will see many of his balloon dogs. They are of many different sizes. This is taking a mundane child's toy, not toy, like birthday party favor and recreating it in fiberglass and making it of a much larger scale. Again, bringing status and stature to commonplace objects. Vincent van Gogh, right? So Vincent van Gogh, this is called Still Life with 12 Sunflowers from August 1888, when his time that he spent in the south of France, where he, which was a Dutch artist, he was deeply moved by sunlight because of where he came from. This immense sunlight was new to him, and capturing those reflective lights, those bright colors in his work were really important to him. And it's evident here in this very humble vase of sunflowers. So now let's talk about historical and cultural sources. So the power of images. Artists often visually quote or make comment on works by other artists. That's a really common practice in the art world, especially in today's day and age. Artists also use images to create profound meaning or to make comments from social, cultural, religious, political, and environmental points of view. So the next artists I'm going to show are going to kind of make point of all of those. So perfect to start with Eric Yonkers. Eric Yonkers is an LA-based artist. Here are two pieces that he's done from 2012 and 2014. Over to the left, we've got Jugs of Steel, A Cold Day in Hell, and then Crimea River, which is Cry Me a River, kind of as a joke. These are two artworks kind of talking about current events, or cultural kind of significance. Over to the left, when we talk about the traditional Superman character, you can see here that he's been given female anatomy in the sense of objectification and kind of poking fun of toxic masculinity. And then over to the right, talking about, and at the time, 2014, it was of a different kind of political commentary than it is today, but still a problem, that the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine. I do also want to just add that many artists use humor as a gateway to talk about more serious matters, and it's highly effective. Shepard Fairey, I would like to talk a little bit about him. He was a street artist, almost unknown in the 80s. You could find his work kind of posted in the middle of the night in urban spaces. He was obsessed with Audrey the Giant. And you could see his O-Base series throughout places like New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and so on and so forth. He had a huge emergence in the mainstream culture in 2013 when he came in to support the Obama campaign. So artists who have a little bit more kind of self-taught or underground approach, creating their environments and their communities and having their messages be read to their culture. And then last but not least, I'm the ceramics professor here at Valley College. So I'd like to talk a little bit about Sarah McDowell. This is a piece called Breath. And although this has no, pictures have intention, and sculptures do as well, the artist's intention here is clearly a discussion about our environment. This is, fictional in the sense that bunnies are not given face masks. And so kind of talking about the environment in which an animal is exposed to human impact, as well as because this mask is something that normally a human would wear, psychologically, we insert ourselves into this image to think about our own exposure to the elements. Hopefully this lecture has been helpful to you to give you a better sense about what design is and how we are going to move forward in the semester to come. And if you have any questions about this lecture, please don't hesitate to reach out. And last but not least, don't forget to respond to the discussion in the Canvas page.